Happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of Cases That Should Have Gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. Today, we're talking about administrative secrecy. Cases that should have gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. Richard Tim was an inmate at a correctional institution who filed a grievance about a disciplinary action that was being brought against him. That grievance was decided against him as well, and as a result, he was very frustrated. He brought an action in court suing members of the correction institution staff, arguing that they had treated him unfairly. And as part of his litigation, he sought access to the decision-making records for the tribunal that dealt with his grievance. This request for those records was dismissed on the basis that they're protected by administrative secrecy, also known as the principle of deliberative secrecy in administrative tribunals. This essentially says that if tribunal members are deliberating about a decision and looking at the facts of the case to make a decision, the records of the discussions in the decision-making process are protected. And this case raises important issues. Well, we do have secrecy when it comes to deliberation in decision-making processes with our courts, and even as far back as cases recently as 50 years from the Supreme Court of Canada, at some point there has to be a limitation on that. And in administrative tribunals, where the rules of evidence don't apply and the ordinary rules that apply to court proceedings don't apply, the same level of deliberative secrecy shouldn't apply to the decision-making, particularly where somebody is saying that they have been civilly wronged and has a good faith basis for that claim against the individuals. This doesn't appear to be a case where the members of the corrections facility who were sued by Mr. Timms were having their claims dismissed because they couldn't be sued in their capacity, which suggests that the information that relates to his claim ought to be available to him to prove his claim. And these cases aren't going to happen very frequently because of the way that administrative decision makers are protected against lawsuits and shielded against that by legal rules in Canada. And so it's only going to be in extreme cases where there might be a legitimate and good faith basis for these things to be opened up, where they could be examined. And the Supreme Court of Canada could have laid out a process where deliberative secrecy can be pierced if certain circumstances apply, while still protecting the integrity of the judicial process or the quasi-judicial process as it applies to administrative proceedings. The Supreme Court of Canada could have made rules surrounding this, like ensuring that the records are only viewed in camera by the judge determining the lawsuit, so that no deliberative secrecy rules are breached in a way that would affect the integrity of proceedings going forward by making the information potentially publicly available. There are ways to address this while preventing people from having their lawsuits stymied by rules that maybe shouldn't always apply in administrative decision-making. We're not dealing with judges, we're not dealing with ordinary rules of court, and so other rules also should be relaxed in some exceptional circumstances. This was an opportunity for the Supreme Court of Canada to lay a foundation for that, or at least to justify why that foundation should not and should never exist in Canadian law. And unfortunately, they missed that opportunity in a way that could potentially have negatively affected Mr. Timms. We will never know. Unfortunately, it'll take another case for the Supreme Court of Canada to have the opportunity to clarify the principles of deliberative secrecy as they apply in modern law today in Canada. Cases that should have gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Cases That Should Have Gone to the Supreme Court of Canada, but didn't. I'm Kyla Lee at Acumen Law. Thank you to Brazen Bull Creative for putting together these videos. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends.